I'm Lee. I'm a New Zealander that lives in the East Riding of Yorkshire. I'm on Instagram as Instamatic louleigh and on Ravelry as louleigh, and this is my podcast about mainly knitting. It's lovely to have you along. It's a beautiful day here and I've been outside at the allotment, and it's just really nice to sit down with you and share a cup of coffee or a nice beverage and some knitting time. It's always nice to sit here and have a chat with you guys, and there is a louleigh Ravelry group as well, and it would be wonderful if you wanted to come over and say hello and introduce yourself, because that's always lots of fun. Yeah, thank you for joining me. As I said, I've been at the allotment today. Did I say that? I meant to say that. I've been at the allotment this morning, digging around and doing the mowing and all that sort of stuff. So I've just come home and freshened up, and I thought I would spend a little bit of time with you. So there you go. My show notes say that the first section is the what am I wearing section, and I'm not actually wearing anything of note. I'm just wearing my Hobbit t-shirt that I got from Weta Workshop in Wellington in New Zealand quite some time ago now, but nothing exciting and handmade. I have on a pair of cut-off shorts that I got from the charity. Well, I got the trousers from the charity shop and then hemmed them up. Does that count? Who knows? Anyway, last time you were here we were talking about hats, and I really enjoyed all of your suggestions about hats that you've enjoyed knitting and hats that you've enjoyed wearing. I have put one or two in my queue actually, because there were some really good ideas in there, and so that was really interesting. And I sent off the Croft House hat pattern to Pie Maven, who has already contacted me and says that she has it. She hasn't said she's going to knit it though. But that was really interesting to see what you liked, and there were some good suggestions in there, and I was really pleased to see the Possum Merino yarn making an appearance. So first, what am I going to talk about first? This is why we have show notes. So I have been doing a little bit of spinning, and you would have seen the finished yarn in Finishing Glory, and I have gifted it to a friend, so I don't actually have it to show. However, I did do a bit of an experiment, because this was a fibre that was kind of new to me. It was a superwash merino with nylon. I don't really enjoy spinning merino that much. I can do it, it's okay. There are other fibres that I find more fun, but I wanted to gift this to a lovely chum of mine for the purposes of making homespun socks. And given that she is a busy working mum, it seemed only sensible to gift her something that she can put through the washing machine. But I was interested to see just how machine washable these socks were going to be. So I made a 3-ply, and when I had finished plying the yarn, I had some left over on my bobbins. You know, there's always the first one that runs out first. Yeah, there's always one that runs out first, and then you have a couple of bobbins left. So I made a little 2-ply ball there, and I did some sampling with it. So in my album of spinning, a friend of mine said I should bring this back because it has actually evolved since last time you saw it. I'm not an album sort of person. I'm not one of these people persons that has lovely notebooks with washi tape and little things stuck in. My notebooks are usually a mess. Although I do like a nice coloured pen. I've got one that's mint green that goes very well with my bullet journal. So anyway, that's not the point. My album of spinning. So in here, I have a handy place to keep the different ratios of my spinning wheels, so I know what they are when I'm taking notes, because I always forget. And I've just been collecting up little samples. These are little pin loom bits of weaving that I do. There is background noise, dogs, cars, wind, outdoor noise, because this is not a professional production, but I think you get that. Anyway, so this is a little pin loom that I have, and I often make these little squares up because woven fabric can be quite different from knitted fabric, so I quite enjoy making those. Yeah, and I just keep samples. Sometimes I do it when I finish the spinning, and sometimes I do it if I've got some leftovers after I've been knitting. I've made socks from that one. They're my favourite pair of socks actually, they're lovely. Polworth, that was the first time I'd spun with Polworth. Anyway, so what I wanted to show you was, not that one, this page. So the yarn came from, not the yarn, the fibre came from fondant fibre, and here are my samples. I think these two are the 3-ply samples, and then this one is the 2-ply. I think as a 3-ply it was about sport weight, and I've stuck the labels in, and you'll notice that I've done 2 samples there, and one of them I just hand washed in the sink with a bit of my normal woolly wash, and the other one I put through the washing machine with my normal clothes on a completely normal wash. I don't usually do this with my woolies. I usually put them through on a wool wash with a woolen detergent, but with this I actually just put them in with my normal clothes. Which one is which? Right, so this is the one that got 3 washes with my normal clothes, and I think that stood up really well. They're actually very bedoingy. They're very springy and robust, and so I think that's going to make lovely socks. I'm almost got sock envy. But as I say, if I was making homespun socks for myself, I wouldn't worry about making them machine washable. I'm quite happy to hand wash my socks. So yeah, that was a really interesting little experiment. Do I have anything else to say about that? No, that is my spinning and my spinning album. So endeth the spinning segment. So this is the sock segment, and as you would have seen last time, if you were here last time, that's not to say you had to be here last time, it's just cool if you were. I'm just a bit of a dick today. Oh well, hey ho. I have finished the first Hairy Man socks. Look how long they are. Oh my word. They don't even fit all in the frame all at once. Oh, they're long, 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 long. So, last time I had mentioned that I was going to knit 3 pairs of socks for the Hairy Man for his birthday, which is in December. And given the size of his socks, I have decided that I'm only going to knit 1 a month, because this was a marathon. And I was trying out the Fish Lips Kiss heel for the first time, and there were, well, the thing that I have to actually say about the heel construction is the actual shape of the heel that you get is no different from any other short row heel. It is done in a slightly different way, which helps close up these holes at the sides. But you end up with a shape that's exactly like any other short row heel. So if you have tried a toe up sock with a short row heel and it didn't fit you well, then I doubt this is, I have my suspicions that this is not going to be an improvement. Because the thing I find is that the problem I find with a short row heel on my foot is that there isn't enough width at this way. I don't have a sock blocker big enough to put this on, so you know, bear with me. So I find that there's just not enough room in this section here. Oh bother. In this section here. And I suspect that's going to be the case with the hairy man as well. That actually he would need some gusset shaping to make this fit him well. One of the merits, well, one of the advertised merits of this pattern is that you don't have to wrap and turn, and I'm not really that bothered about wrapping and turning. I don't see what the big deal is. There are lots of things that are trickier in knitting, and I actually found this short row method a little bit more of a faff actually than just a wrap and turn, so I wasn't sold on that either. And I'm cynical about one other thing. The way they have you sort of get the right number of stitches, there's a method that they give in the pattern for getting the right number of stitches for the circumference without having to measure. And I have ended up with this with 64 stitches on a 2.5mm needle for the circumference. And what I'm cynical about is that that's usually what I would do for me. And so, will this actually fit the hairy man? You're probably sitting there saying, why don't you just put it on him? And I would, except he is bobbing around in the Gulf of Mexico at the moment. So, when he gets home, I shall swiftly make him adorn his new sock, take some pictures so that I can show you next time, because maybe I'm just blowing hot here. Maybe this is going to fit him perfectly. We'll see. The jury is still out, and in June I am going to, I think it'll fit him, just how well is, is questionable. Yeah, in June I shall knit him a matching one, but I think I need a break. They are the biggest socks known to man. I'm sure there's people with bigger feet than that, and if you knit for them, then send me your address. I shall send you chocolates. Right. So the other thing that the other sock in the sock segment that I am working on is in this bag. I did a spot with Danny from Little Bobbins. I can't even bring myself, I don't want to draw in the string, and I can't bring myself to take the tag off. Most of my bags are made by me, and so it's quite special to have one that's made by somebody else. I was quite chuffed to get one of these. And so in here I have my sock for the cookie jar cowl, which is being run by Lara from the Fawn Knits and somebody else, and I forget who that is. But anyway, it's being run over at the Fawn Knits. And I am doing the Girl on Fire sock. So the cookie jar cowl is for sock patterns by Cookie A. And until recently I didn't even know this pattern existed. I'm so excited. I'm making these socks for the same person that I was making the pink socks for, except hopefully these will be the right size. And this pattern I have just cast on. I have it in my needle cozy you can't really see anything out of there. So I've pretty much just got through the first pattern repeat. That just looks like scrunched up knitting. There's barely anything to see. Look, there's bows of yarn and all sorts of stuff dangling off there. I can never bring myself to cut off this excess in case I have to undo the sock and start from scratch. I would hate to think that I had wasted 4 inches of yarn. I know that's silly. So anyway, yes, I have finished the first repeat. It's so much fun. Oh, you just want to, you have the lace pattern round, and then you do a rest row, and you're just sort of like, oh, I'll just do the rest row. And then you're like, oh, I just do another pattern row. And of course, they're for a size 3 UK, so they're tiny. You're round the row in no time. I am using some needles by Addy. They're these coloured things. They're not particularly nice coloured. There's 5 in a pack, and they're all different colours. Although the blue and the turquoise are quite similar. And I think it's so you're supposed to be able to tell, you know, in patterns when it says needle 1 and needle 2 and all that palaver. But the thing is, as soon as you knit across one, you've taken that colour out, so it's in a different position anyway. So I'm not sure how helpful that is. I just bought these because I thought I would try them. They have 2 different ends. One is a sharp end. Where's the sharp end? That's the sharp end, and that's the blunt end. So one is a sharp end and one is a blunt end. Yeah, so that if you have a preference, then you can use one or t'other. I think they're trying to be all things to all knitters. The feeling of them is interesting for a metal needle. They're not super slick. To me, they feel like a carbon or even a wood needle. Your stitches don't slide along them really quickly. For me, the jury is out as to how much I enjoy using these. So I shall carry on and let you know. As you know, if I don't like a knitting needle, I just gift it on. So that could be of benefit to one of you. So those are the Girl on Fire socks for the cookie jar cowl in my new bag. So this is a notice for my mother-in-law. Because Danny in my swap didn't just send a bag for me, she sent one for you as well. Let me show it you. Take it out of the bag. So this is the bag that she sent for you. And she sent the cutest needle cozy that has elephants on it. And I have decided that this is for you as well. I'm keeping hold of these until you cast on socks for yourself. You can have those once they've been cast on, rather than knitting all these things for other people. So there you go, mother-in-law, get casting on. The other thing to say about the Girl on Fire socks that I have been knitting is that I am using this yarn which came from a sock blank which I dyed myself. And in the sock blank it had 2 strands held together so that you would get 2 socks exactly the same. Now, I don't mind knitting straight from a sock blank. In fact, I quite enjoy it. It's quite fun. However, I have tried knitting 2 at a time socks and it ended badly. So I didn't really want to try again just now. I might at some point. I'll never say never. And so I went to the trouble of unwinding these into 2 separate balls. So hopefully I should end up with two the same. And I did this quite some time ago, so I've kind of forgotten what colour was in the middle. So that is rather exciting. So yes, that really is the end of the sock segment now. So this last bit is the what would you like to hear about segment. There is a thread in the Ravelry group where you can ask anything you like. Don't be shy. If there's something you want to hear about, just pop over there and say hello and I'll talk about it if I can. Yeah. So Nerdy Farm Girl had asked me about yarns that were local to me, and I actually have some of the most local yarn to me in my stash, which is this. And this is actually from the yarn shop where I work. Quite a few years ago they had, the shop is on a farm, a working farm, and quite a few years ago they took the fleece from their sheep and they had it spun up into yarn. They have been talking about doing it again, but I don't know how soon that will be, or yeah. But anyway, this was a colour that I particularly liked. Now, so this farm is actually less than 5 kilometres from my house. What's that? Is that 3 miles in old money? And they have Suffolk cross sheep there. So a Suffolk is a Downs breed sheep, and when I say Downs breed, I'm talking about an area of England like the South Downs, and you know, it refers to the shape of the landscape and all that. And so they're from sheep that are from those particular areas. And Suffolk, I'm assuming that this one was originally bred in Suffolk. They're sort of a largest sheep, and they usually have a white fleece and a black head and black legs. I do wonder if Shaun the sheep is actually a Suffolk. And their ears point down. They're kind of floppy. They're very cute. And they're mainly bred for their meat, but Downs breeds have a really interesting fleece in a couple of ways. Firstly, it's not supposed to felt easily. Now, I've not tried with this. I should do that. I should make a sample and just see how it goes through the washing machine. They tend to be, the fleece can be quite variable in terms of fineness. It can be quite fine or a bit heavier. And as I say, it's less likely to felt than other yarns. It's quite a springy, sort of like the fleece holds a lot of air in it. I'd like to say bedoingy again. When you get it, it's very spongy and very light. It's almost like the polar fleece of wool, because when you wash it and hang up a Downs breed wool yarn or fleece, the water pretty much it wants to drop out of it, but it's also a very bulky fibre. It holds a lot of air in it, and so the yarns I've seen have usually been thicker. So this is a beautiful Aran weight yarn. I'll just wait for that. It's the ambulance going past. That doesn't happen very often here. See, I said there would be background noise, and that's just how it is. What was I saying? I've completely lost track. I was talking about the polar fleece of the wool world. Yeah, so it dries really quickly, and it's really good for robust outerwear. It doesn't feel really soft next to the skin, but this particular yarn has alpaca in it. They also have some with mohair in it as well. So it was dyed quite a bright pink colour, and then it's had dark brown alpaca blended in with it, so it's got that lovely halo there as well. Cables really stand out with this because it is a very round, springy yarn. So yes, I'm really intrigued to knit something up with this. I have 4 balls which are 70 metres each, so I'm guessing, what is that, 280 metres, and it's an Aran weight yarn. It says it's worsted spun. I'm assuming that means it's worsted spun and it's not referring to a gauge. It said worsted Aran weight. Yes, I would have thought so. It's who spun it. Yes, I would have thought that refers to how it's been spun as opposed to the actual weight. So it's an Aran weight. And if you have any suggestions for how I might knit this up, I don't think this is a colour that I would put in my wardrobe, but I might knit something up as a gift, like a hat and cowl set or mittens. And I think it would be good for a pattern that has kind of like a 3-dimensional quality to it, because that would really show up quite nicely. So if you have any suggestions, it would be lovely if you popped over to the Ravelry group and just pop them in the thread for this episode. So there you go. So that was the first question that I had to answer, and then I got a private message from somebody. I've forgotten who it was, and I've forgotten to make a note of it as well. Apparently there was a coffee snorting incident about something that I said on the podcast. And I've been asked how the hairy man got his name. And I had a big think about this, and I don't remember. I know that I was thinking one day that I had been thinking for a little while that I needed a way of referring to the hairy man on the interwebs. And his friends on occasion have teased him about being hairy. And I think there was an incident after we were coming home from a barbecue one day, and I might have had a glass of wine, where I might have said something along the lines of, "You might be a hairy man, but you're my hairy man." Yeah, so I can't remember the exact moment when he became the hairy man. He's not adverse to being the hairy man because I think he's okay with being hairy. Yeah. It was probably just an evolutionary thing. I mean, the name, not the hairiness. So, today, the last thing that I wanted to just mention is that I know some of you are interested in my allotment and allotmenteering, and so I am going to insert a video at the end of this with my allotment. And this week I am most excited about growing melons, because this is the first time I've grown melons, and all of the fellows down at the allotments are taking great delight in asking to see my melons. So yes, I will, at the end here, I will insert a little video of the allotment and how I'm growing my melons. I would be really interested to hear from you if you've done it before, and what varieties you used and how you grew them. That would be fantastic. Let me just check my show notes to see if there's anything else I was going to chat to you about today. I think that's all. I think I've talked about everything on the list there. So it was lovely to share a few moments with you. And please come over to the Ravelry group and say hello. And yeah, that would be really nice. I'd love to hear about yarns that are local to you and to see the things that you've knitted with them. Yeah, what's the nearest yarn to your house? That would be really interesting to hear about. So until next time, cheerio.